Hi, what a whirlwind year I've had. I've gone through Simon Zutshi's property mastermind journey. I've undergone a major self-development as part of that program, and I've also built a small property portfolio that smashed my target. And my IFA company has teamed up with a master broker. That means that we now have direct access into many of the large and not so large lenders. And on top of this, April 2016 is my inaugural hosting of Swindon PIN. I am Mark Knight and I am an IFA. As many of you know, I've just finished Mastermind 19. It actually finished in March just gone, and as part of the journey, the group has chosen top 5 performers. These are chosen for outstanding results and for variation. And out of the top 5, the whole group choose one to be the overall winner. And that person's normally chosen because of the amount of help and support that they've given the rest of the group. One person stood head and shoulders above everyone else, and it's not just because of his platform shoes. I could see a while ago that he was going to achieve this great accolade, so I asked him to come and speak to us at Swindon. And I thought, what better than the current Mastermind champion to speak at my first PIN meeting. But also, I thought if I could have anyone on speed dial, this is the chap I would want. He is a true masterminder. If he doesn't know something, he knows someone who does. So Simon's released the video that I'm going to show after this already. And whether you've watched it or not, or this is the first time, you need to watch it now. But watch it knowing these things. This guy is absolutely down to earth. He's achieved amazing results with absolute focus. And he's achieved these results from some bar in Dubai. Well, actually, he may not have been in a bar, but he's achieved these results whilst holding down a full-time job in Dubai. And he shared every single thing he's done with all of us at some point in time during our mastermind group. He's held nothing back. And he'll be joining us at Swindon to do exactly the same. His name is Turriff. He has a great Scottish accent, so I will record his talk and slow it down for anyone who needs this after. But every single person on our mastermind course loved this guy, and I know that you will too. And if that's not all, I've managed to get Arsh Ellahi from the depths of Birmingham to come and talk too. Now, you may not have been lucky enough to hear Arsh before, but when I got into the property game, I wanted to listen to and to meet the people who have been the most influential and most successful. I wanted to learn from these guys, and Arsh is unbelievably successful. I could not be more excited to have 2 big guns locked and loaded ready for my first PIN. And because of this, tickets are selling like hotcakes. If you have reserved a ticket already, well done. But if you're a member, and if you haven't, you need to get in there quickly. If you're a member of PIN Academy, do not reserve a ticket unless you will absolutely come to the meeting. I just don't want you taking a seat away from someone else who needs that ticket. The date is set April the 20th. The place, Swindon PIN. But for now, sit back and watch Billy in action. In all my time watching Masterminders on stage, I've never seen someone physically moved to tears. Congratulations, Billy. And I look forward to seeing you and everyone else at Swindon PIN. Thank you.
So please put your hands together and please help me welcome Billy Turriff.
No pressure is first off. Let's do the first thing first and see if I can operate it. He turned it the other way. Okay. Okay, so good morning, everyone. Very privileged to have been asked to come on stage and share with you some of my highlights from the 12 months on Mastermind. For me, a key date in my journey was on the 2nd of January 2015 last year. I found myself, I was in the lounge at Manchester Airport, and I was kind of reflecting on where my life was at that time. And 2014 hadn't been the best year for me. I'd had a marriage had broken down, I'd kind of come out of a divorce. But on January the 1st, I had to drop Archie off at his mum's house, and I wasn't sure when I would be back from Dubai to see him next, whether it would be in January, whether it would be in February. Also, my dad had been down and he'd been back up to Aberdeen. So it was kind of a case of just where was my life going. And I was kind of aware I was about to get on a flight to travel 6,000 kilometers to go to the other part of the Middle East to do a job that I'd ultimately fallen out of love with. It was no longer my motivation. It was no longer the kind of the fire in my belly. And what I realized was at that time I had kind of started trading time for money. And that's a bit of a stupid trade to do, because the one thing in life that we can't get any more of is time. And I'd kind of realized I'd fallen into that trap in the corporate world. Okay, I don't think it'll come to a surprise to a lot of you that property is actually quite a strong passion of mine. So Mastermind was quite lucky for me in that it really gave me two different outcomes. One was I wanted to move from the corporate world to being full-time in property. But two, I wanted property to give me that option to have time away, to do things with family, to do stuff personally. So I really saw it giving me two bites of the cherry. I've been in property for a long time. Since 2002, I bought my first house in Ireland. It's a garden apartment in that block there. Between 2002, 2015, I bought up a portfolio of about 10 houses, 7 that were mine, 3 with a joint venture partner, Peter. But it was a mixed portfolio. I had some stock that was underwater in Bulgaria, in Ireland as well. I had some low-yielding stock in the outskirts of Liverpool too. So it didn't give me enough money that would allow me to make the move from the corporate world to being a property investor, which is really what I wanted to do. In January, I read a number of articles in YPN, and there was a key theme that came out in those, was that at each point, certain people who'd built up portfolios had taken a step back to invest in themselves to go the extra mile. So I kind of thought maybe that's what I should do. What I didn't want to do was wait another 12 years to hit my target. And the reality was I knew with my current portfolio that if I could get this in 1 year, I could make the move from the corporate world to get my time back as Billy. So kind of long story short, in January, I looked at a lot of different courses and a lot of different programs out there. And Mastermind appealed to me mainly because I saw it as like a master's in business or a PhD in business. But I was still concerned. It was, I had a senior job with a good consulting company. I had the portfolio on the side. I was trying to be a dad, and I was 8,000 kilometers or 6,000 kilometers away. And kind of the question was, could I really do this, or would it just be more stress that I was putting on myself? So anyway, I had a conversation with this Zutshi character on January the 24th to ask him what his views were. Should I come on Mastermind 19, or should I maybe wait till Mastermind 1 in 2016? And the advice following that conversation was to come to the accelerator that was the next month, and then to make the decision whether I was going to join Mastermind 19 or whether I was going to wait 12 months till I was back in the UK. The reality is, though, after that call with Simon, I made the decision that I was going to commit to doing Mastermind 19. And the reason for that was I was no longer prepared to trade my time for money for another 12 months. And that really helped me, because it meant, to be honest, by the time I came here in March, my kind of mindset was really good. And, from talking to some of the previous top 5 people, from watching all the previous top 5 videos, the same thing is said up here each time on the stage. If you actually go deep into that and follow the process, a bit like what Fraser said earlier today, it can really help you. And that really got me to hitting the ground quickly when I came. Okay, so what have we actually done in Mastermind 19? Well, it's certainly been a busy 12 months. Couple of different strategies that I've done. Short-term letting was key to me. I did a lot of refurbs, and I needed to get cash flow quickly. So I've rented stuff in Dubai. I've rented stuff short-term in Bulgaria and also in Liverpool. When I was looking at the numbers for this presentation, it was about 100 short-term lets we've done in the last 12 months, so almost two a week. Got involved in sourcing for the first time. So, going through that famous process flow we were given, deals that don't fit your strategy, look to trade them on, look to sell them on. created 2 companies. I never thought that would happen. I've got a development company, I've now got a buy to hold company, and I'll share some details with you about that later on as well. I knew what lease options were before Mastermind. I never knew how to execute them. I never knew how to source them. I've done lease option deals in Liverpool and Redditch and Pontypridd. Helped some people in Bulgaria who were struggling to rent their summer apartments. So basically did a rent-to-rent, a kind of letting deal with them. Bridging, one of the webinars we had, Simon talked about if you can borrow money, which I could do cheap in Dubai from the bank. I could keep half of that money for my refurbs, and I could spend the other half on to other investors and claim on that. And basically it ends up being free money for you. Done rent-to-rents, again, in Dubai, also with Masterminders in London. Set up a SaaS pension scheme. Again, that was from MMX. That's great because that can manage your tax going forward, but also enables you to basically create a vehicle where if you want to do bridging long-term, which I do, it's very tax effective to do it. So I was doing a lot of stuff. That also meant that I got a bit of coverage. So I got asked to write an article for YPN magazine about investing from overseas. Did an interview with Michael Stenhouse and did a couple of webinars with Simon too. The reality was, though, a lot of those activities I was doing was to create cash flow for what was my 2 main strategies. And the 2 main strategies was student lets in terms of adding new HMOs to that. And we put on about 10 houses in total with 50 new rooms coming online 1st of July. And then also focusing on the bigger deals. So the bigger deals to give us the chunk of money, which was conversion of 4 office blocks to 20 apartments. So there's about 45 deals done since the time I spoke to Simon. And if you think of between 2002 to 2012, to 2014, it'd taken me that long to just get 10 properties. So from my perspective, going from that to that really shows me what being in this environment and committing yourself to a program like this can do for you. We'll go into some of the individual deals now and touch base on them. So this is one of the student houses. And I love student houses because of the cash flow they give you. You look at this deal, the profit's just over 10K. If you do that every year, you only need probably 3 or 4 of them to get kind of close to that target. But how do they give you such good cash flow is really through momentum investing. And when you're doing momentum investing with these deals, we're doing 2 things. We're doing big refurbs to them. We're adding additional rooms, so we're going up to the attic. We're going out the back as well and doing large extensions. So we're going from 2 bedrooms to 6 bedroom houses. But the other opportunity you have for momentum investing is at the price that you buy. And the reality was before Mastermind, I'd spent all my time going against other investors. So being in auction rooms, being on Rightmove, against other people. It wasn't until I realized I should be looking for the seller rather than the house that we managed to be able to scale up a lot quicker. And a lot of my deals this year have been off market. Stuff that has been sourced through landlord letters, through Facebook, through LinkedIn, through Gumtree. And what's really good when you get the stuff off market, particularly if they're a motivated seller or a tired landlord, you find a lot of the time they've actually got multiple properties. So again, you're getting no competition when you're in there, but you've also then got the opportunity to kind of scale up a lot quicker. Finally, what I really like about this model is my time is spent sourcing the deal and financing the deal. The whole process then of actually refurbing it, the furniture, the architects, the letting of it is the same house from house. So it's a really good model to rinse and repeat, and as I say, can give you great cash flow as well. The second deal I want to talk to you a little bit about is Hamilton Square, and I'm pretty sure this won't come as a surprise to you being up here. Hamilton Square was the conversion of 4 office blocks into 22 bedroom apartments. What I loved about this deal was the amount of different touch points that it actually had. And when I went into doing the deal, I went into it to push myself to the next level. I went into it to make some cash. What I didn't realize was, though, how much I would enjoy the different touch points. Ultimately, we've got 20 investors now who are going to own each of these apartments, and that'll give them a return for as long as they hold them, can be kept for their kids, etc. We're going to have 20 tenants who are going to be in brand new apartments in a great grade 1 listed building. We've got investors from Crowd Property who could invest from as little as £500, getting a return on that. Our refurb costs for that were 600k. So, we've put work in terms of 600k into construction companies in the northwest of England, and that's something I'm hugely proud of, and I really never thought we'd do during Mastermind. The other big thing with that is, though, it takes responsibilities. When you've got builders to pay, when you've got bridgers to pay, when you've got Crowd Property to pay, when you've got the buyers to pay. So you really need to manage your cash flow tight on deals like this. And again, that's a skill I've managed to develop as a result of Mastermind. And with Hamilton Square, what I'm really pleased to say is this week we issued our first notice to complete on the first 10 apartments. And next week we should be issuing notices to complete on the final 10 apartments. So what that basically means is that during the period of Mastermind, we've gone out, we've managed to source a deal, we've managed to fund it, we've managed to build it, we've managed to sell out 20 apartments. And when I spoke to Simon in January last year, my next house purchase was a £40,000 terrace house that was a cannabis factory. And we turned it into a great student house. We took out the cannabis. But, that's where I thought my future was. That's what I was doing, standard terrace, buy-to-let houses. Never did I dream I would go from doing that 12 months ago to doing this in the last 6 months. And again, that's really the power of being in this environment and the power of this group to do stuff like that. Okay, the figures, yep, it's certainly been a good year. Totally surpassed anything that I thought that would do. Managed to put on about 4 million of assets during the Mastermind course. In terms of the actual profit before joint ventures are paid out, we're at 470,000. My share of that post joint venture funding will be about 265,000. That's a hell of a lot of money. You don't need that money to live off a year. You need half of that. You need a quarter of it. But I'm now in the position, thankfully, to Mastermind and thankfully to the investment I've made this year, that I now have a choice what I want to do. A lot of that, the good stuff about that as well is your annuity business stays with you. So your student houses, your lease options, that stays with you year on year. In terms of advice, I really look at it as kind of two main components. You have your mindset perspective, and then you have the property perspective. And the important thing I would say to anyone is to get your mindset right. And that, the first month Simon says that it's not about property, and he's correct. If you can get this bit right and you can get your focus, the property stuff will take care of itself. And when you look at the property stuff, all the strategies work. Whether you want to do flips, whether you want to do HMOs, whether you want to do conversions, they work. Get something that's close to your heart, close to your values, and focus on it. And then what Simon said this morning, keep it simple. Too many times I think we complicate stuff. To do any of these deals, you have to source the property and then you have to fund it. And you have to do it in that order. Again, before Mastermind, I actually thought money had the highest power. But I've realized without a doubt it's actually sourcing. And if you look at Hamilton Square, that's a good example of that. Hamilton Square, I had funds lined up from a bridger, then Crowd Property underwrote it, and then they opened it to the crowd. So it was funded 3 times, So there's enough money out there to fund deals. What's actually harder is getting some of the deals together. All the other stuff, then your refurbishments, your technical stuff, pay people for it, outsource it. But the stuff that will give you the strategic advantage is sourcing stuff and funding it. It's a really simple business once you just kind of follow it. And then finally, accept it's a journey. It's kind of, there isn't a straight line. And one of the things I've got better of as a result of Mastermind is actually being aware of that journey and realizing there's different curves around the corner and enjoying it. Okay, I'm kind of wary now. I'm running out of time. Dave's put up his card. But one of the key things is to do this, the whole principle of Mastermind is that 1 + 1 is greater than 2. And I never knew that, again, before I came here. I thought it was a case of you just work hard, you put your head down, that's your end results. the reality is linking into a group like this, linking into an environment will help everyone to move. And I'd really like to thank each one of you individually for making the last 12 months such a great year for myself. There's a lot of other people up there I'd kind of like to thank, you know, kind of Simon, Fraser, a number of other people in kind of the peripherals of Mastermind, my coach Rob McFarn, Mark Deering, Michael Dong, Joe Simpson, Andy Gwynn, all who helped me in terms of getting a clear steer on where I was going. And then also, you know, the guys back in Liverpool have ultimately delivered a lot of this stuff. And finally, you know, our tenants and also our investors and our house buyers, if you don't have them, this kind of beautiful world of property doesn't necessarily work. So then finally, you know, where are we? We're now, you know, 12, 13 months on from that time when I was sitting in that lounge in Manchester Airport, you know, worrying about trading my time for money. I'm glad to say, you know, I am going back to Dubai next week, but I'm going back to Dubai for a 2-week holiday, and I'm going back to Dubai to pack up my stuff and move back to the UK, kind of lock, stock and barrel. What that gives me is my time back, and that's what this year was really about for me. It was about getting my time back because I just didn't have it. And that allows me to be a dad. It allows me to see my son every month, something he can't do from 6,000 kilometers away. It allows me to do stuff that, you know, I'm not a materialistic person. I don't have a posh watch. I don't have a flash car. But what I do, you know, I enjoy experiences, whether that be sporting events, whether that would be time out with family, you know, etc. And now I've got my time back, and that's all I really wanted. You know, I'm quite bullish about where the property will go, but I'm actually going to reflect on that for some time over the next couple of months before moving to the next level. And then finally, you know, I'm really glad I've tapped into this self-development circle. I don't know what I've been doing, to be honest, for the last 15, 16 years. It wasn't since I really tapped into this that I realized how far you can push yourself and what you can actually deliver if you put your mind to it. And I'd just like to put a big thank you to each of you for helping this to happen and make it such a good year. Thanks.